Welcome to Tiger Village. My name is Ofelia Vasquez, and I am the district's bilingual social emotional counselor. Every parent would like to believe that suicide is not relevant to them, or their family or friends. Unfortunately, it's all too relevant for all of us. It's the third leading cause of death in adolescents and the second for college-age students. Even more disturbing are national surveys that tell us that 16% of high school students admit that thinking about suicide, and almost 8% acknowledge actually making an attempt. The unfortunate truth is that suicide can happen to any kid in any family at any time. So how do you deal with this reality? Once you acknowledge that suicide is as much risk for your child as not wearing a seatbelt while driving, or using alcohol or drugs, or engaging in risky sexual behavior, you've taken the first step in prevention. You talk to your children about these other behaviors which can put them at personal risk, and suicide is no different. It's something you can and should talk about with your children. Contrary to myth, talking about suicide cannot plant the idea in someone's head. It actually can open up communication about a topic that is often kept a secret. And secrets are exposed to the rational light of day often become less powerful and scary. You also give your child permission to bring up subject again in the future. If it isn't prompted by something your kid is saying or doing that worries you, approach this topic in the same way as other subjects that are important to you, but may or may not be important to your child. Timing is everything. Pick a time when you have the best chance of getting your child's attention. Sometimes a car ride, for example, assures you of a captive, attentive audience, or a suicide that has received media attention can provide the perfect opportunity to bring up this topic. Think about what you want to say ahead of time and rehearse a script if necessary. It always helps to have a reference point. For example, you may say, "I was reading in the paper that youth suicide has been increasing." Or you may say, "I saw that your school is having a program for teachers on suicide prevention." Be honest. If this is a hard subject for you to talk about, admit it. You might say, "I never thought this was something I'll be talking with you about, but I think it's really important." By acknowledging your discomfort, you give your child permission to acknowledge his or her discomfort too. As your child's response, be direct. You might say, "What do you think about suicide? Is it something that any of your friends talk about?" The statistics make it sound pretty common. Have you ever thought about it? What about your friends? Listen to what your child has to say. You've asked the question, so simply consider your child's answers. If you hear something that worries you, be honest about that too. You could say, "What you're telling me has really gotten my attention, and I need to think about it some more. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this again, okay?" Don't overreact or underreact. Overreaction will close off any future communication on the subject. Underreacting, especially in relation to suicide, is often just a way to make ourselves feel better. Any thoughts or talk of suicide should always be revisited. Remember that suicide is an attempt to solve a problem that seems impossible to solve in any other way. Ask about the problem that created the suicide thoughts. This can make it easier to bring up again in the future. You might say, "I want to ask you again about the situation you were telling me about." Here are some possible warning signs that you can be organized around the word facts. F for feelings, A, actions, C, changes, T, threats, S, situations. F for feelings. Feelings that again seem different from the past, like hopelessness, fear of losing control, helplessness, worthlessness, feeling anxious, worried, or angry often. A for actions. Actions that are different from the way your child acted in the past, especially things like talking about death or suicide, taking dangerous risks, withdrawing from activities or sports, or using alcohol or drugs. C for changes. Changes in personality, behavior, sleeping patterns, eating habits, loss of interest in friends or activities, or suddenly improvement after a period of being down or withdrawn. T for threats. Threats that convey a sense of hopelessness, worthlessness, or preoccupation with death. They might say, "Life doesn't seem worth it sometimes. I wish I were dead. Heaven gotta be better than this." You may observe them making plans like giving away favorite things, studying ways to die, obtaining a weapon or stash of pills, and suicide attempts like overdosing or cutting themselves. S is for situations. Situations that can serve as trigger points for suicidal behaviors. These include things like loss or death, getting in trouble at home, in school, or with the law, a breakup, or pending changes for which your child feels scared or unprepared. If you notice any of these things in kids who have always been impulsive, made previous suicide attempts or threats, or seem vulnerable in any way, you really should get consultation from a mental health professional. It is important to understand that warning signs of suicide are not always obvious. If you see something, say something. Ask them if they are thinking about suicide. Let that individual know you care. Get them the assistance or treatment they need as soon as possible. Let them know they matter. They count, your life counts. Warning signs of suicide. Suicide does not have one single cause. Certain factors like substance abuse or untreated depression can lead to a higher risk of suicide, just as having a trusted group of friends can help protect you. Here are more examples of suicide warning signs, such as negative view of self, isolation of feeling alone, drastic depressive mood and behaviors, self-harm, like cutting behaviors, engaging in risky behaviors, giving away things, and substance abuse. Risk factors. Risk factors do not cause or predict suicide. Rather, they are characteristics that make it more likely an individual will consider attempt or die by suicide. Some important risk factors of suicide. There's a history of substance abuse, losing a friend or a family member to suicide. There may be a mental health condition. There's access to harmful means, relationship problems, previous suicide attempts. Protective factors. Protective factors are characteristics that make a person less likely to engage in suicide behavior. Moreover, protective factors can promote resilience and ensure connectedness with others during difficult times, thereby making suicidal behaviors less likely. Here are a few protective factors. The safety of the school. It's a safe school. Closeness of caring friends. Overall resilience. A safe neighborhood. Awareness of and access to local health behaviors. Parent connectedness, and academic achievements. Here at Lancaster ISD, we have partnered with many different mental health professionals. Consult with your primary care provider, teacher, school counselor, or your school or your child's school administrator. Please visit our website, lancasterisd.org, and click on Student Services Department tab. You will find a plethora of resources of names and numbers you can connect with to find the help that you need for your child. In addition, we invite you to visit save.org, SAVE, represents Suicide Awareness Voices of Education. Here you will find more research-based resources in which you can become more familiar and comfortable with the topic of suicide. If you or someone you know is in need of immediate help, please text or call 988. You will immediately be connected with a mental health professional to assist you. Lancaster ISD is here to listen, support, and serve you and your child. If you have any questions or concerns, you may reach out to your campus school counselor. Until next time.